welcome back to my channel. My name's Heather and this channel is all about me trying out new hobbies and experimenting and having fun. So today is my first ever book video. This is something very new for me. I recently got into BookTube and I thought, why not make some videos of my own? I love reading, I always have, and I love making videos, so seems like the perfect combo. For today's video, I'm going to be finishing some book series that I have already started reading. Most of these I've either read the first book or the first several books, and I'm just going to be finishing them up. I'll walk you through which books I plan on reading, and then this will be kind of a vlog style of me reading them and giving my reactions and what I think of the overall series. So let's get into which ones I've chosen to do for this video. Alright, so the first series that I'm planning on finishing in this video is the Giver series. So if you don't know, the first book is The Giver. I have read this book a couple times now. I read it the first time in like middle school, and then last year I went ahead and reread it. It's basically a dystopian novel. It's really hard to explain. But basically it's this dystopian novel where there's pretty much they've lost like collective memory in their society, and there's one boy who's chosen to become the giver, and basically he's given all of, I guess he's not the giver, what's the name of it? He's chosen to like be the apprentice of the giver, and he basically gets to be given all of the different memories from history and society. Anyways, super hard to explain. You can look up what this book is about, but I love the book The Giver. Had no idea until sometime last year that it was a series, and so I haven't read the rest of the books, but I finally did get them. So the first one's The Giver, which I have read, and then, ooh, let me make sure I'm getting these in the right order. I might have to look up what order these ones go in because I do not remember off the top of my head. Okay, so it looks like it is The Giver, and then Gathering Blue is the second book. I have no idea what the books are about. I haven't really done too much research on it, but Gathering Blue is book number 2. And then, let's see, Messenger, this is book number 3. They all have really cool covers. Can't really see in this lighting, I'll have to get some better shots. But Messenger, number 3, and then the final one is Sun, and this one's the thickest one. So these are the 3 books I'll probably start with to try and finish up this series that I've been reading for quite a while. It's been a long time. I don't think I'm going to reread the first book. I think I remember it good enough to not have to reread it. So that's series number 1 and probably where I'll start. The second series that I want to work on is the Red Queen series. I read the first book, Red Queen, quite a while ago. It was sometime end of last year, I guess it was probably been about a year. Loved the first book, got the rest of the series in the box set, so I've read Glass Sword and King's Cage. I think I might have said those out of order, but I've read these 2. They're super slow. I kind of lost interest in the series reading these 2 books. So book 2 and 3 were not my favorite, and I kind of quit reading. I put the series down for about a year. So all I have left is War Storm, the 4th book, which is also the fattest book. It is, let's see, 662 pages. So this one's quite long, and I haven't been able to bring myself to read it because I lost interest in the series in book 2 and 3. But I've seen a lot of people on the internet say that the last book is worth it, and that the first book's fast, the second 2 are slow, and then this one picks back up. So I think I'm going to use this video to make myself finally actually read the 4th book and finish the series. So that's kind of what this video is. It'll just kind of be a vlog of me reading these series and my thoughts on them, and hopefully I will get some good series finished so that I can start moving on to some new things and not have these hanging over my head for the next little bit. So thank you for watching, and let's get into the vlog portion of this video. Okay, I've read all of like 1 page and I've realized I actually don't remember The Giver as good as I thought. So I'm probably going to look up like a quick recap video. Hopefully there's one. I'm sure there will be. So many people have probably read this for like a school assignment. It seems like a book like that. So I'm going to look up a quick recap of what happened in The Giver, and then I'm going to start reading this one. Okay, last update, and then I really am getting into reading. apparently within the quartet, they're all about like different people just set in the same world. So I think the characters from The Giver do show up eventually, but this is about totally new characters, which is why I was so confused. So apparently this isn't necessarily a continuation. It was originally written as its whole own book. It just isn't set in the same dystopian world as The Giver. So that explains my confusion. Alright, it is time for an update on my book. I have gotten to, let's see, page 128. So I'm just slightly over halfway. It's into the plot now. I know kind of what's going on, what the book's going to end up being. I'm still a little confused on how this is tied into the first book. Like, they seem like almost two different worlds. Like, they're both dystopian future books, but Giver felt a little more high-tech, I guess, than this. Not that it's necessarily like sci-fi high-tech, but this is very much so like they're back to living in huts. They don't have running water. They don't like have any amenities anymore, and The Giver very much so they're like living in apartments. It's kind of a different vibe, and so I'm still a little confused on how the two get brought together. They feel like very separate stories, but they're good, and they're both like a dystopian. They have, I guess it's just different towns that have developed different cultures since civilization kind of fell. So it's interesting. This one's very much so, well, so The Giver's very much so about like collective memory and history and stuff like that. This one's very much so about like the arts, and she's into weaving and stuff like that. So it's kind of an interesting how it's looking at like different aspects of what survived, like the fall of civilization. Time for a major update. I've been reading a lot. I finally got into it. I finished Gathering Blue yesterday. It was pretty good. I ended up rating it 4 stars on Goodreads, which I've recently gotten into and been trying to get that all caught up. But I did really like it. It did finally start to tie in with the characters from the first book at the very end. So it kind of briefly mentioned them. It didn't really tie in a lot, but as soon as I finished this, I went ahead and just immediately picked up this one. I got about 60 pages in last night, and then I finished the rest of it today. So I'm already finished with book 3. It's called Messenger. That's the cover. Hopefully that's focusing. This one starts to kind of tie them together more. So it's kind of like The Giver sets up one scenario and a set of characters, Gathering Blue sets up a whole nother set of characters and another town, and then the characters all kind of converge in Messenger. This one was really good. I liked this one probably better than Gathering Blue. I think this one is up there with Giver for me. It follows one of the characters from this, so it kind of was a little bit more of a continuation into the series than this one was, because it pretty much picks up where this one left off just a few years later, is what Messenger is. This one was also kind of mystery filling. There's lots of stuff that still is unexplained, so I'm probably going to have to start the next one potentially tonight, maybe tomorrow. We'll see what we end up doing tonight. But I did really like this one. I didn't love the ending. Like, it was really good, it was really well written, but it's really sad. So not thrilled about that. I still have a lot of questions too, but I do have one more book. So hopefully the last book answers some of my questions. There's one character from The Giver that they have only briefly mentioned. If you've read The Giver, it's the baby. You know it from the end of the book. I won't say it any more than that, but they briefly mentioned it at the very end of Gathering Blue, and then that character hasn't showed up at all in this book. So I'm hoping that the fourth book explains that character a little bit more, because you haven't seen much of what happened to it. All you know is that he is still with the main boy from The Giver, and they are living in the community that these books take place in. So the last book is the thickest one. It's like 600 something pages, so it's a lot bigger than these ones. These ones are both in the more like 300, not even, more like 200, 150, 200 page brown. So the fourth book is a lot bigger. It's pretty much the other three books combined makes up the fourth book. So that one's probably going to take me slightly longer to read. Luckily, it is Friday night tonight, which means I'll have a decent amount of time tomorrow to read, so hopefully I can get pretty far through that. And then by next week I could be into finishing up the Red Queen series, and then that will take up the rest of this video. Alright, good morning. I did finally start Sun this morning. I'm about 100 pages, more like 130 pages in. I've made it to book 2, so within this book it's kind of divided into 3 sections. I'm learning now. I'm on book 2. This one's been really good so far. I really liked it. The first book within the book pretty much jumps back to the original first Giver book, but you're seeing it through a new character's point of view. So it's really interesting so far. It's a good refresher on the plot. So if you were to have picked this one up after having like taken a break from reading the other ones, it'd really get you back into it well. So the first book is called Before, I think? Yep, it's Before. I'm now onto the one called Between, and then the third one is Beyond. So what I'm hoping is happening is that first one took us back to this character at the time of the original book. I'm hoping the second book kind of catches her up to where the other books are at, and then the Beyond kind of wraps the whole thing up. So that's what I'm hoping for. We'll see if that's what ends up happening. Okay, I have officially finished the Giver series. Overall, 5-star series. I love it. They're all pretty much as good as The Giver. I think the one that I liked the least was probably Gathering Blue. But I still loved it. It just wasn't my favorite, and part of that's probably because it was just like a whole new story and I was starting over on characters and setting and stuff like that. The other 2 books bring in a lot more of the actual Giver book, and they're intertwining the 2 stories, so you're not having to learn a bunch of new characters or new settings or things like that. The last book did have a nice conclusion to it, so that was good. I'm happy about that. I was a little nervous that it wasn't going to be like a satisfying ending for the series, but it definitely was. So overall, 5 stars. I think I gave every book individually 5 stars except for Gathering Blue I gave 4. But that's the Giver series complete. I'm so happy I finally read the rest of them. Definitely worth it. Would recommend for sure. That being said, I am now on to the next series I plan on finishing in this video, and that is The Red Queen. All I have left is book number 4, War Storm. I'm a little nervous to get into this one. I read Red Queen last year, and then I read Glass Sword and King's Cage at the beginning of this year. It's now December, so it's been almost a year since I've read anything in this series. And I'm not so sure I'm going to remember people's names or what is going on. I may need to find some recaps. We'll see. I might just get into it. To be honest, haven't been loving the series. Love the first book, second and third slowed down a lot, which is why I have not gotten around to this one. It's also big. It's like 600 something pages, pushing 700. So it's quite a thick book. I'm hoping this airs more on the side of the first book and is more interesting and fast-paced, and hopefully it won't take me too long to read this because I don't want this video to take like a whole month to film. Alright, it is time for a very long overdue update. I started reading the book, War Storm, and then I got sick, and I didn't really read. It's been like a week, maybe even longer, since I've updated this video. As you can see, the tree is all decorated. It's full on Christmas. We are like 4 days away from Christmas at this point. So almost to Christmas break, at which point I'll be able to make some better progress on this. But I have made it to page 270. So I'm pretty far. I'm somewhere in between like a third of the way and half of the way. Also still have my cough. So far it's good. It's definitely better than book 2 and 3, but I'm not as obsessed with it as book 1. They added a third perspective, which I really like. So you kind of get every chapter you're rotating through the point of views of Mare, who's the main character, Evangeline, who's also pretty much a main character, but you don't get her point of view until like the second or third book. I can't remember when. And this time they add Iris, which you know who she is if you read the other books. But I really like Iris's point of view. I like that they added her in there. You're now getting like a point of view from each major player in the war, which I like. So you're kind of getting the like red rebels, the silvers that are helping the rebels, and then the silvers who are fighting against the rebels. And so you get like a point of view from each of them, so you get to follow like the war as it's going on from each person. So I do like that about this book. I've liked that they added her perspective in there, and so far it's good. It's pretty war oriented, like it's just kind of the happenings of the war. So I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it could be more exciting, but it's all just like more the political side of war. It's not like the actual battles. And so I feel like the first one was all about like guerrilla warfare, and it was like, here's all these cool things they're doing, but this one's like, I'm mad at this person and we're mad at this person and I'm making alliances with this person kind of a thing. And so it's very political, not necessarily war, I guess, even though it's War Storm, but like they are in a war. So I don't know. Mixed feelings. It's not great. It's not terrible. Like I'm making decent progress through it, especially considering I've been sick and I haven't really been reading. So hopefully I'll have this finished in the next few days, and then I can wrap this video up with my thoughts. I'll have finished 2 more series before the end of the year. That's the goal. Okay, I have officially finished War Storm, which means I've completed the 2 series that I was planning on finishing for this video. So it's time for my final thoughts on this book. The first half to 2/3 of this book was pretty boring, I'll be honest. It was kind of like the second and third book, like just nothing really was happening. It's all just politics and drama, and the plot is just moving so slow. Around probably 450, page 500, they finally actually start the war. Like they finally actually have battles, and those she writes really good. I really like how she writes the actual part when we're in battle and stuff is happening and the plot moves pretty quick. So at that point the book did pick up a bit and it got a bit better. Like I got through the last 200 pages pretty quick compared to the rest of the book. But I just wasn't happy about the ending. It just didn't really settle anything. Like there are a few characters, well really only one main character, yeah, just one, that really got like a definitive ending. Everything else was left in the open. So I did do some research and apparently there is a book of novellas that has some prequel novellas, some post Warstorm novellas. So it sounds like she kind of got the hint that everybody was mad and had a lot of questions about the ending still and went and wrote some novellas to kind of wrap things up. And based off Goodreads comments, it sounds like they do actually wrap things up in those novellas. But I was just really sad because I thought I was going to be done and I was just like, yes, I'm finally through this series, but it didn't end in a satisfying way at all. So I don't know, if you're looking to get closure and feel like you're done and you can just move on and it was all worth it with this book, I don't think this book quite does it for me. A lot of people that I've seen in comments were like, just get through the 4th book, it's so worth it, but I think you have to read the novellas to really get the ending. And so, I don't know. I might have to go get the novellas at some point and read them, but I kind of got a little burnt out with just how slow the middle of the series was. So, I don't know. I really liked the 1st book. I read it so fast I had a hard time putting the 1st book down, so I'm really sad that the rest of this series didn't live up to the hype. I just wish she would have kept writing like the war and the battle and the strategy, because she writes those really well. But all the other stuff I just kind of got lost and bored. So that wraps up my finishing series video. These are the books that I read. I read the whole Giver series, well, the last 3 books, and then I finished Warstorm for the Red Queen series, and that's my 2 series. And now I finally get to move on to reading something else. I'm not sure what I'm going to read next. I had originally planned to read, let's see, I have them right here, the 39 Clues books. I talked about that at the beginning. But then for Christmas I got Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney, and I've seen great things about that book and I'm really in the mood for like a fast-paced mystery, so I'll probably pick up that book and then maybe come back to these. But that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'm hoping to make more book videos as we go because I love reading and I have a lot of books coming up that I'm going to be reading. So I'm sure I will make more videos. I hope you enjoyed them. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. I will be hopefully coming out with lots more videos specifically around books and travel. And thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time. Bye!